r/AskReddit by QuriosityCat. What fact is common knowledge to people who work in your field, but almost unknown to the rest of the population? An elevator will go up to the top of the hoist instead of crash to the floor in most catastrophic failures due to the counterweights. I don't know if that makes my elevator anxiety better or worse. It all depends on whether there is a masked villain sawing at the rope holding the counterweights. Twirls moustache. Most people are not good at detecting lies, and consistently score no better than chance, 50-50, when tested. The score goes up slightly when it's someone they know that they're talking to, but not much. Ironically, most people rate themselves as very good at detecting lies, but they're wrong. To add to this, experienced detectives are no better at telling who is lying and who is telling the truth than rookie police officers. The only difference is that they believe they are better. Right. I also remember reading that among law enforcement the only ones who scored above chance were Secret Service officers due to some of their special training in reading non-verbal language in strangers. Even they were only around 70%, though. A corporate policy of requiring users to change their passwords every 90 days does not make your system more secure. It tends to actually make things less secure. I've been trying to run this up the chain where I work, but they're so set in their ways and because corporate says so. Okay, I don't want to hear you guys biting when someone picks up the sticky notes around the office/shop with people's usernames and passwords written on them and ducks everything up. And then you have the ones where it can't be anything related to the previous passwords you've used. I ducking hate it. At my work the passwords aren't even allowed to have characters repeat twice or more in a row. For example, if I tried to do hello and then some random numbers, it wouldn't allow it because of the double L's in hello. Absolute stupidity. There is a surprising amount of infrastructure under your feet. You'd be surprised how much public utility runs underneath private property. Always call before you dig. We had a garden in our backyard growing up. I used to dig in the spots where my mom didn't have any plants growing. I decided one morning that I was going to dig to China. I was young, okay? And kept going until I hit a thick black cord. I stabbed at it with the shovel, and saw all sorts of colors inside it. I thought I'd found some treasure, but what I was actually looking at was dozens of individual wires inside the cord, and what I'd done was take out the cable TV for the entire street. Edit. This happened in like 1985. That's why there was static on the TV, and there was no fiber involved. If it was full of colored wires, it was probably a telephone cable, and yeah, cutting through that would be a major disruption to your neighbors. Coffee shops spend more on milk than coffee. I remember someone telling me once that Starbucks isn't in the coffee business, it's in the milk business. There is no difference between a violin and a fiddle other than how you play it. A violin has strings, but a fiddle has strangs. The joke I heard in college from a girl who plays the fiddle was, violins are tuned to C and fiddles are tuned to B sharp. Heartworms are treatable for dogs, but not for cats. Also, keep on top of your heartworm prevention for your dog. If they get heartworm but you can prove that they've been continually covered, which isn't difficult, the receipts are good enough, and your vet will have them in their database, then the heartworm prevention manufacturer will pay for the treatment. Edit. Man, I love that you all love your pets. I'll just add to this, your indoor cat, or dog, can get heartworms? Mosquitoes can come inside. TIL. Heartworms come from mosquitoes. That if your IT guy is not busy, he is doing a good job, not a bad one, and you don't need to fire them. A friend of mine went to bat for me on this many years ago. I was sole IT guy at a smallish company. Apparently one day, while in a meeting, happened to spy me playing Quake 3 and made a comment along the lines of, "What the hell do we actually pay him for?" My friend thankfully asked, "Is your email working? Can you access the internet? Are all our servers up? That's what we pay him for." Your IT guy is like your security guard. You want him to be bored. Touching your fresh tattoo with your unwashed fingers is bad. It's absurd how many times we have to tell this to people. The toner in your printer is plastic being melted onto the paper. To add to this, an inkjet printer microboils the ink in the printhead, before transferring it to the page, bubbling just barely. I had no idea about this until last year. The maximum spacing between spindles in a railing is 4 inches because that's the average size of a baby's head. Most building officials will carry a 4-inch sphere with them when doing inspections on new construction. Similarly, when public play structures are being evaluated, the evaluator brings 2 size paddles, one which is equal to the average size of a new norm's head, and one that equal to the largest average size of a child under 10. They then stick the paddles in all crevices of the play structure. If the smaller one, the head, can get through, the bigger one, body, must also be able to, otherwise the structure won't pass inspection. No one is going to see your website if you don't have a strategy to drive traffic there. For whatever reason, people seem to think if you put something online people are, at best, going to flock to it in droves, or at worst at least stumble across it accidentally. But that's 100% not going to happen. Nobody's just going to stumble on your website. It's like putting a restaurant on the moon, not telling anybody about it then wondering why no one's eating there. There is no such thing as a perfectly functioning aircraft. Every plane you fly on has a multitude of maintenance issues, just not severe enough to affect safety of flight. Edit, effect versus effect. Edit, my apologies to everyone boarding a plane today. Rest assured, this is nothing to worry about, planes are still the safest way to travel. Thank you for the nightmares. An electrical engineer isn't an electrician. I repair large format printers for a living. They are designed by electrical engineers who make big bucks. I can diagnose a bad fuse on a PCB and replace it, but if the customer gets a CPU error or anything deeper, I suggest replacing the board. Every once in a while I get a guy who says, if you are a certified tech, how can you not repair the board? You just want more money for a new board. I have to explain to them that electrical engineers go to many years of school to be able to design these boards and make a lot of money doing so, and if I could do it I wouldn't be fixing printers. Most people understand, but some people won't budge. Fix printers but can't figure out how to cook hot dogs. Just tell them the boards are soldered by robots and the precision is impossible for humans. Most 911 calls an ambulance receives on a daily basis are not remotely close to being emergencies. EMT can confirm. About half of our calls are for patient transfers to or between hospitals. The other half of calls are 911 calls. And only half of those 911 calls are true emergencies. And the only time we use lights and sirens is when a person is in deep shoot and staring death in the face. So if an ambulance comes up to UL&S, move the duck out of the way. Fast. Being a civil attorney, we almost never go to jury trial and the job can be unbelievably boring. And the time and expense involved. It's not uncommon for suits, particularly those of large dollar amounts, to take 3-5 years to reach resolution. And the expenses can easily run into the mid-6 figures. Just settled an admitted liability crash case, where the only question was damages. Mid-6-figure settlement, high 5-figure expenses, mostly for doctors and experts. Took 3.5 years. Being a stockbroker does not mean I know how you can turn $100 into $1 million by next month. Stop texting me. Turning your computer or phone off and on again will fix a solid 70 to 80% of all problems the device likely has. People think that turning off and on again is a joke, but it works most of the time. I've been doing IT for 20-odd years. If no one changed the configuration, turning it off and on again is going to fix the issue. Sometimes shit just happens and it needs a reset. Half the time my job seems to consist of being on conference calls with C-level executives explaining why we need to turn it off and on, and when I can do it. The answer is usually, 3 weeks time, 4 a.m. Sunday morning. Or you just flip the switch and say it crashed. Nominal pipe diameters are not indicative of their actual diameter. So a 1-inch pipe is rarely actually 1 inch in either outside or inside diameter. Why? I have no idea. But if you drill a hole of exact diameter and stick the pipe in there, you're going to have a bad time. I worked as an insurance adjuster. Most people have no idea what homeowners insurance actually does. Here is a very simple guide to understanding what is covered by homeowners insurance, a sudden and one-time occurrence. While there are some exceptions to this, understanding those few words will help you understand 95% of what is and is not covered by your policy. Note, my experience applies to US insurance only. If you stick your eardrum with an object, you will start to cough. This happens because the nerves interconnect, vagus. I hope this information helps you in future battles. Neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson, starts way before the first symptoms appears. No one wakes up suddenly one day with Alzheimer's. From actual data, it seems that the disease is rampant for 10-15 years before the first symptoms. Some research say that you can start identifying abnormalities 20+ years before the memory loss begin. And it works for all neurodegenerative diseases, AFAIK. You would think all the heavily relied upon server infrastructures were super secure and highly redundant. Ha ha ha. As a chemist, the thing that gets me every time is I don't want chemicals in my statement. Literally. Everything is a chemical. Susan. In jewelry, a diamond is a luxury expense, not an investment. Gold is the investment. If you try to sell your engagement ring, you'll get maybe 20% of what you initially paid for it. Jewelers can get diamonds for a fraction of what you paid for it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Do you have some facts you'd like to share? Please do in the comments below. Also subscribe to our channel and smash that like button. We'd really appreciate it. The Curiosity Cat is watching and meowing. Meow. Talk to you later.